Okay, hopefully the audio is just killer. I'm standing here with my horse. I checked one of the past videos and the audio wasn't great. It seemed like it was clipping. Was it clipping or it just wasn't good for some reason, and it was when I had the mic. So please let me know if there's any problems. And let's see, putting my filter on, making it look better. I won't say professional, I won't say cinematic. I think it just warrants looking better. So here we are. We're gonna try something a little different. I'm gonna see if I can feed my horses, and I just realized I'm gonna do it with one hand. I forgot about that because I'm carrying the tripod. So I'm gonna see if I can. I didn't irrigate the property this year because I only had 2 horses at the time, and it doesn't take much to keep them fat, and they are fat, but there's not enough to keep them happy. So I'm buying hay, but it's still cheaper to buy them hay, alfalfa, than it is to irrigate. There you go, girl. I alternate. I let one mare loose at a time, because if I let the 2 mares loose, they because there's not good, well, they think there's not good grass. There is, but they run off and go to the neighbor's property. So I let one loose at a time. They don't wander off if they're alone. And then they get to eat this dry grass, which they do like the dry grass. They just don't like it when that's all they got. But I mean, look at her. She's fat. You can't even see her ribs. I'm just a sucker. This is why I'm not in a relationship. All right. Hey, look at her. She's so mean. Stop it. She pushes him around for just to be rude. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey. She listens to me though. I hope that. Hey, will you stop? Comanche man. Hey, hey. See, look at that. She's over there trying to kick him. I think it's dangerous if I'm mixed up in it. Come on, girl. Oh, oh. Come on, boy. Poor guy. He's such a cool horse. He's so friendly and nice. Hey, 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 hey. I'm barefoot, so that makes me nervous. There you go, good boy. There you go. I also pin him up separate and feed him more because he's still pretty thin. So after this, I'll take him over to the round pen and give him a big quantity of food. These mares just get a little. If I give him a bunch in here, then she'll push him away and eat it herself. So I just feed them the same amount in here, and then I separate them. All right, well, that worked. I didn't close the door. So looks like I'm keeping the cell service. I found out another reason I was struggling with the live videos for a little while. It's because my phone was full on storage. So, because I was trying to do live videos where I had always done them, and for some reason it wouldn't, it kept kicking me off. I didn't have the bandwidth or whatever. So that's why they're earlier, before other people wake up and get on their on the internet. But also I found out that my phone storage was full, so I transferred a bunch of my photos and videos to a hard drive, and now getting better service. All right, let's see if we can set this up for some cool lighting. I'm working on my short film, so see how I got this glow That's what you look for cinematic or any kind of photography, really. I only found it out. I'm sure some of you already knew that, but I only found it out recently, so I've been playing around with that. See, that's way more dramatic. But we're not going for dramatic. Still dramatic. That's cool. Yeah, I never knew that. I never would have guessed that when setting up a shot, I always tried to have it bright, you know, just everything illuminated. But you always set up the camera on the dark side of the face. And so much good information on YouTube. Just not enough time to study it all. So I posted about Carl Jung the other day, and I posted about, this one was well, it didn't come off as really controversial, but I wonder how many people got irritated because I posted a post saying that Americans are no good at why Americans are bad at studying history. Of course, that's not totally true, but there is a and the thing is that I wonder how many people on my American history friends read that and just got irritated. The thing is that we're all bad at studying history, and those who don't first acknowledge it and accept it are the ones who will stay bad at it. I mean, it's like maybe it's like flying. My dad was a pilot. I thought about becoming a pilot a couple times, and you got to go at it. That's why it's nice to stay a beginner. That's why here I am at my stage in life, and I'm a beginner at 50 things that I'm doing. And because it keeps you humble, and you approach it all as, I don't know what I'm doing, and you come with a humble approach. Just like if you're flying, I mean, you can die quick. That's the thing. Not a lot of people walk away from plane crashes. That's why there's that statistic that, well, statistically it's safer to fly in an airplane than drive a car. Well, I've been in like 3 or 4 car wrecks, and I walked away from all of them. You don't walk away from an airliner crashing, not generally. And so it's like one airline wreck, it's over. So anyway, you approach flying humbly because there's a lot at stake. And so it's like, okay, I have to be really cautious that I pull the right switches, move the right levers, and gauge the wind, gauge my speed, all of that to make sure that you don't make a mistake. And we need that same kind of humility approaching history. Like, okay, I need to be careful that I don't read into this. I don't get an idea and then I'm in my head and then I miss the next line and I lose the context. I got to study close to catch the context so that then when I read something, I'm interpreting it, hopefully better than worse. And so the question isn't, why is Richard saying Americans are particularly bad? The question is, oh good, here's an opportunity. What is it that could make me bad at studying history? In other words, what could make me better at it? And that's why I post that kind of crap, to bring it up, to bring it to light. Like, the kind of people that I want engaging with me on Facebook are the kind of people who would read that and not be offended and not get all puffed up about, oh, I'm better. Studying history is really annoying when you got to interact with people. And we're talking doctorates. There's this guy I found recently, and I was really intrigued by him at first. He's a professor putting out videos, like like Peterson used to do, putting out classroom videos. This guy, Casagrande, I think, not Casagrande. Casagrande, Dr. Casagrande. And he's fun to listen to, he's entertaining, and he was bringing up all this really interesting stuff. But the more I listened to him, I started to realize, well, for one, I picked up on something. He has this claim about Santa Claus that Coca-Cola started the red and white Santa Claus. And that's what you get with college professors a lot. They get delighted in, oh, you thought this, you grew up this way, but let me tell you, that's childish. You know, they love that kind of attitude where they get to have college kids come in and like, well, your parents are stupid. Let me tell you the real truth. And then I've seen this. I've gone to college. I've gone to multiple colleges, and you see it all the time. And that's it. His attitude was like with Santa Claus. Oh, you guys thought Santa Claus goes way back. The red and white Santa Claus was started by Coca-Cola. That's what he told everybody. And I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. No, I'd swear I seen Fat Santa Claus way before Coca-Cola. It just sounded wrong, so I looked it up. When did Santa Claus make this advertisement? And just do a quick Google, the very top result was Coca-Cola on their own website saying, no, we did not start the red and white Fat Santa Claus. And then I found a Reddit post where a guy posted like 5 or 6 pictures of fat red and white Santa Claus from like 100 years before Coca-Cola did their ad campaign. So that and other things started making me think, okay, wait a minute, I can't just soak up everything this guy is saying. As much as I enjoyed it, and I started being a little more critical, and it's like, okay, he's just making all these unfounded claims, but because he's a doctorate, you know, you listen to him, but also, more importantly, he was very entertaining, and he has this really kind of cynical, sarcastic attitude about it, like, oh, people always think this, but here's the reality. And anyway, now I've talked too long to forget what that point was. Oh yeah, even with professors, even with college graduates, studying history is really annoying. And in the Old West history, it's frustrating because, you know, the Old West, it attracts Old West type people, like cowboy types, and people who, because we're American, that's our history, and it's still, the attitudes from it still exist in a lot of people, try as they might to get rid of it. You know, that independence that we've, anti-government, independence, self-sufficiency, and just, you know, the manliness that still exists. But the problem is it doesn't work well with studying history, that attitude. So that's kind of the irony of those who what's the word I'm trying to say? Exhibit the attitude of the Old West aren't the ones who are the best at studying the Old West. But that doesn't mean that the irony also is that everybody can get things right. You don't even have to go to college to get things right. Anyway, it's a long, complicated thing. I've done videos on how to study history, and it's a lot to it. All right, I got to move my filter to read the comments. All right, don't forget to comment, folks. Oh, audio good. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. Good morning to Texas. Always excited being in the middle. Yeah, especially when you're barefoot. I have had a horse. Fortunately, it was my gelding, and he's not huge, and he stepped on my foot barefoot. I was actually wearing moccasins, which, you know, is basically the equivalent of being barefoot when a horse steps on you. I thought, oh no. I always thought I'd break a bunch of bones if that ever happened, but no, I was just fine. Whew. Makes me nervous thinking about it. And there I go, feeding the horses barefoot. Dead Wolf Resistance says, indeed, bad at studying. However, lots of history is lies told by the winners of the wars, so I've been told anyway. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. That's where you got to figure out first off, you know, okay, what's the motive of the writer? And what's the motivation? And a lot of our government history, of course, is to paint the people as heroes. That's what's cool about the Civil War. We have actual history from the losers and the winners. And of course, the winners paint Lincoln is some kind of hero, but then the people who aren't pro-Lincoln make him look like a villain. And so it takes a lot of studying and questions as to, okay, so what was he really? What parts are emphasized or exaggerated and what parts are true? And the thing is, a lot of, there also, it's not even just Americans. I mean, it's men. And not that we're the problem. Women have their own problems with studying history, but the thing that men bring to the table is we're competitive and we want to win. So we look at communication and studying history. We look at anything as we do as wanting to win, and that's not necessarily bad. It just has to be controlled. And I'm competitive as anybody, and so I've developed a way that I can always win, so to speak, and it's by not even trying to win. You know, the old kung fu thing. Um, uh, uh, by not trying to win, you actually can win because I'm playing a totally different game. My game, for me, winning is finding out what's the truth. Just like the old Edison thing. When, you know, he was asked, well, how did it feel failing 1,000 times trying to create the light bulb? He said, well, I didn't fail. It was one more test of discovering what isn't the right one or whatever. You know, I don't remember how he said it, but basically every failure was, okay, good. I've figured out that that's not it. So all 1,000, dang, my nose is running. All 1,000, yeah, now I forgot the name of the thing in the light bulb. He said all 1,000 attempts that didn't work were helping him find the one that did work, and then ultimately he found the one that worked. And so, you know, that's why it's so annoying dealing with people. Like let's say he was on a stage and showing, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to make a light bulb, and so he tries one of those things. What is it? The filament? It's not a filament. Gosh dang, it's a common name. We all know it. He says, okay, I'm gonna try this, and then it burns up. And how many people would just laugh, ha ha ha, you don't know what you're doing. I mean, that's like the common response. And then some people would be like, okay, try it again. So he tries another one, burns up, tries another one, burns up. He gets to through 100. How many people would stick around to watch that show after he failed 100 times? How many people would be out on the streets saying, that guy's a nut, right? But he was playing a different game than the masses play. If you haven't figured out that I'm against normalcy, he was playing a different game, and that's why he won. Every time that he burned up the light bulb thing was a victory, because he knows, okay, don't try that one anymore. Now I've isolated that one as not the right one, so now I get to try something else. He was playing a different game, and that's why he excelled far more than the average people do. And that's how I come to history. Like, if somebody tells me I'm wrong and they're correct, that's a win. Good, because my goal is my winning. For me to win is to get closer to the truth. So if somebody can help me get closer to the truth, then that's a win. Whereas the person saying it, like if I post something, a claim, if I make a claim and then somebody else says, no, that's wrong, here's why, and they're like, ha, see, I'm the winner, you're the loser. And that's what a lot of people bring to it. But when you're trying to discover truth, the right way to be, like if somebody posts a claim and I come to it, then I'm not trying to shoot them down. I'm trying to figure out, okay, my idea was different. So I'm going to pose my idea against that one, and then we're going to see which one works. And I make a claim sounding like it's what I believe, because it is, but I don't hold it like, okay, now I got to defend it. It's more like, okay, I'm presenting my thoughts on the matter. Now, hopefully somebody will test it and we can shoot it down if it's wrong, or it'll withstand the testing and it'll prove, okay, it's a thought to continue holding on to and to continue testing. That's how I approach history. Very few people do. Most people just present to win, and it's so frustrating. Like I used in that example. Normally, people won't even present an idea. They'll just say that's wrong because this. And my common answer is, well, how do you defend that, or what's your rationale? Rarely do I even get a reply, and that's manliness. Like if there's a lot of like in the macho, the type that are macho, like if they say something and then you question them, like in real life, and they just silent, they don't look at you. It's very common in the cultures that are still patriarchal. Less so in Americans, but even with Americans, we have a lot of patriarchal. And I'm not saying patriarchal is bad. I'm just saying that this is one of the bad things about it, in my opinion, um, where they'll just stay quiet. Like, I don't have to answer you. I'm your superior, or you're acting childish. And it's like, okay, well, that's fine for running your family or for running your company. But when we're trying to learn things, trying to test out ideas, that doesn't work. And anyway, that's why people don't like me. In case you're wondering, I sound good on camera. I have got to blow my nose. I don't know what's going on here. So anyway, that's what I posted about. And to me, communication and studying history are not exactly the same, but there's tons and tons of overlap. Because think about this. Both of them involve ideas. For this is my idea, and this is what I think. But the idea is really difficult to convey, because as soon as I use a word, well, we all think we have shared understanding of words, but if I use a word and you use a word, you might have a different history with that word, so it means something a little bit different than what I meant by it. But also the individual words are just part of an idea. And so now you got all these words that present ideas that already have a concept in the other person's mind. And also one problem, you say a word and that can trigger, not trigger like in the negative sense that we use it, but it can trigger, oh, that word has a lot of meaning for me. And now all of a sudden you've lost them as a listener. This happened down in Arizona. I got into a huge argument with somebody, and because he thought I was saying something that I definitely wasn't saying, but he insisted that I was saying that. And it's like, no, we got to approach communication first off with the understanding that conveying ideas is difficult. Now, if I could change anything about human communication, it would be that everybody enters it with forefront in their mind that conveying ideas is difficult. Why? Because what do you do if you approach it with conveying an idea is difficult? Well, then if somebody shares an idea with me and I think, okay, conveying ideas is difficult, maybe this person isn't being really clear. So what do? You ask clarifying questions. That never happens. And I test it. I'm on the internet all the time talking about this stuff on social media because I'm studying how people communicate. Like I'm sure tons of people think I'm an idiot for trying to talk to people online, but I've got a safety. It's like, well, the other thing I'm doing is like this social experiment of how do people communicate? Even if I ask straightforward, no offensive comments, no sarcasm, straightforward question, how are they going to respond? And I'll tell you, badly, very badly. It's so rare to find anybody that can actually communicate. Anyway, and clarifying questions is the first thing, because immediately what we do is we just, bam, I've got a response for that. And you can't ask a clarifying question because that makes you look like the dumb one. It's like, almost all of it's competitive. Like, as soon as you hesitate or look like you've got to think about something, or, oh, I didn't know that, all of a sudden, bam, you lost. As if it's a competition. The competition is understanding the other person. This is why I never lose, because I'm playing a different game. But I get into these stupid contests where the other people are playing their game, and it's all about, I'm right, you're wrong. So if we approach it as communication's difficult, the first thing we got to do is, okay, I'm probably misunderstanding this person's ideas. There's a good chance I'm misunderstanding. So let me ask some clarifying questions to make sure that this person's ideas are as clear as I can get them. They'll never be 100%. That's just the reality. The thoughts in my mind are never going to be 100% in your mind, no matter how much I elaborate on them, because they're going to go through your filter. And it can be a very, very, I don't have the word for it, daunting idea that your ideas are always going to be only your own. No matter how close you are with your loved one, no matter how much, we're never going to 100% know that that person gets my idea fully. It can be a very isolating thought. But that's why, like I talked about in my video about art, that's why our lives are creative, because of that filter. Your ideas go through my filter, and now when I express the idea, it is a little bit different. So anyway, if we were to recognize it's difficult, clarifying questions, let me try the best I can to help you express your ideas. So in an environment of hostility, somebody's not relaxed enough that they can express their ideas. Because if, like on the internet, usually it becomes an argument, and then, like I said, you can't show any weakness. Like, we're bringing animal behavior into discussing ideas, for crying out loud. And but if we create an environment where, hey, it's okay, you express your ideas multiple times, and we see the media doing this. You may not like President Trump. I don't care. There's a lot. I'm not like a follower of his, but what I hate is when the media takes little clips of what somebody says and then misinterprets it intentionally. Going way back to the whole thing about him, they love to say that he thinks all Mexicans are rapists and murderers. And I heard that, way back in 2016, whenever it was, and I thought, okay, I got to hear what this was. And I listened to it, and he doesn't say that. He just says they are sending them over, and there's a lot of bad people coming across the border. And which I always tell people whenever I bring this up, at that time I knew 2 Mexican girls from Mexico, not like in Mexico, not like, I know tons of Mexicans here in Yakima that are from Mexico, but these Mexicans were living in Mexico, and they had told me long before the whole President Trump thing, they told me, hey, don't judge us Mexicans by the ones that you see coming up there, and I won't get into that, but this was actual Mexican girls telling me essentially the same thing that President Trump said. And then how did the media spin it? Well, they picked one Mexican American who said that was racist. They picked her out. This is that's a movie trope, that you pick out an individual to represent the masses. That's how you can represent the masses in a movie, so that you don't have to show the whole, you don't have to get to know every extra in the movie. You pick out 1 or 2 actors that hang out with the extras, and they represent the masses. And that's what the media did. I mean, it's a tool for running, for leading the audience. And it's so blatant, and yet people fall for it. There's still people who repeat that, saying, oh, he's racist. He thinks all Mexicans are murderers and ragists, whatever. I might get kicked off YouTube for using the word, because they don't like us in society knowing that those exist. they don't want us to talk about it. So anyway, the media is extremely manipulative, and you see this stuff all over the place. And this is reason 648 that I live alone and separate from society, except for my stinking social media use. But a lot of that's research. Also, a lot of it's to keep my keep my sanity out here. So let's go back to some comments. This is Nam Num Ken, for those of you who don't know. Indeed, studying, however, lots of history is told by the winners. Yeah, I didn't elaborate on that a whole lot, but a professor with doctorates, I'm scared. Yeah, this one guy on that post said, oh, and I should warn you, I've got a bachelor's in history, and or something like, yeah. What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Why don't you address my claims? My history studies are done on X. Yeah, I haven't got used to X. I'm trying not to because I spend too much time on the others, but I have an X account. Confederate flag is flying right now. Speaking of Mexicans, when I was a realtor, I had a Mexican client, awesome guy. I really appreciate him because I found him and his family a house. Well, him and his wife, they were empty nesters. I found them a house that they wanted, got them a great deal on it, and they just walked away from it. And of course they can do that. It was just difficult, as thinking I'm gonna make a commission. I did my job, and then about a year or two later, it might have been 2 years later, he called me up and said, "Hey, we appreciated your work. Sorry that we just abandoned you. We just changed our mind about it." And he said, "We want you to list our house." So that was awesome. I always appreciate that kind of loyalty. Anyway, he was from Mexico. He was born in Mexico. I don't remember at what age he came up here. He worked in law enforcement, and he took me and showed me his Confederate flag in his basement man room. That guy was awesome. And his Confederate flag doesn't mean racism. I mean, that was a sad part about it, about the history, but those of us who like states' rights, that doesn't mean we want slavery back. For those of you who don't understand. Hey, good girl. My dog just showed up. All right. Let's see. I do not use fly spray on horses. The flies are really bad this year. There's cows over there, and I think that's why they're particularly bad this year. Freaking flies. But yeah, right now there aren't any out here. I don't see the horses bobbing their head. Maybe because it was such a cold night. We've been having some killer weather. It's been nice and cool. Downright cold. Morning, Harold. Glad you made it. Still waiting for Daryl to come back. I don't know if he's Daryl Isay. I don't know if he's upset that I changed channels for the live videos. I don't know. I've learned. Jennifer says, or Royce says, I've learned early in life to listen and pay attention to people. Yeah. Listen a lot more, talk a lot less. That's what made me such a success in real estate. I mean, I wasn't the biggest success, but my success came from listening. Like, it's amazing how many realtors, because there's times where I would have to call a realtor, like for one, if I needed to, if I had a client going out of my area, and so I'd look for them a realtor, and so I'd call multiple realtors. It's amazing when you actually have to talk to them, how much you get, like 2 or 3 words off and bam, they just start talking. And I was not that way. I listen, and then when I talk, I demonstrate to my clients that I was listening. And almost every first meeting, not everyone, but nearly every first meeting I had with a client, I won their trust. Like, oh yeah, this guy actually listens. And it was genuine too. It wasn't just a trick. Because the right house for the right client. That was my saying. The right home. Because I hate salesmen. I hate the sales idea of selling ice to an Eskimo. That kind of thing. Like, I didn't have to sell anybody a house. I had to find out, listen to them, what kind of house they were looking for, and then find the right house for them. I mean, it's just, you're really more of a facilitator if you do it right. And then a lot of helping them to understand the process. Awesome. The War of Northern Invasion. Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's not get onto the Civil War right now. But I will say, what people don't realize, I only started learning it like 6 or 7 years ago, is that states' rights versus federal rights was a major argument from the outset of America, like before the Revolutionary War even kicked off, I think. Maybe it was during, maybe it was right after. They were already fighting about states' rights versus federal rights. And that's what took the Constitution a long time to get ratified, and why the Federalist Papers were written. Now, I haven't read it for a while. I think the Federalist Papers were in defense of a federal government. There were some states that were holdouts that didn't want to sign because they didn't want so much federal power. And so those guys that wrote the Federalist Papers wrote it as to why they didn't need to worry about too much federal power. And but ever since then, that was like the beginning of the feds trying to take more and more power. Significant times in history were when the IRS was formed, income tax started. I think those were reversed orders. The IRS was formed. That's all government power. When militias were disbanded, and then we had so that it was no longer state civilians, it was a standing army, because the federal government can do a whole lot more when they don't have to ask the states if their war is popular. I mean, now they don't have to ask the states, but they have to just win. They just have to win public favor for wars, and that's why they can freely do whatever wars they want now. Not quite freely. They got to sell the American public on it a little bit, but they practically own the media. So, or they do own the media, and the government's owned by the people who own the media. And so all this federal power that we're seeing, and then was it Hoover who started in on all the federal federal work, so that he used federal money to create jobs, government jobs. And then whoever it was that started the welfare system, it's all about federal power. And that's why it's not just people who don't like authority wanting small government. It's a lot deeper than that. It's about freedom and liberty that America was founded on, and knowing that governments tend toward power. Anyway, let's not talk about the Civil War. That's just what people don't really realize. We were taught in school that, oh, it was all about freeing the slaves. Well, it wasn't. It was about federal power. I mean, that's a nice benefit, if you can say, because the sad thing is, you know, in the Reconstruction era, black people were treated horribly, horrifically. And that was a result of, well, some say it was a result of Lincoln getting shot. And I agree. I think that if Lincoln had been alive, that was it Reconstruction? Right after the war, whatever they call that. I think that Lincoln would have handled it a whole lot better. But anyway, communication. A lot of overlap with communication and studying history, because most of it is looking at words. What do these words mean? What's the context? Anyway, all right. I think the rooster's over there hanging out with the horses for some reason. Do I think Indians would have died if government hadn't stepped in. Well, okay, the history of Indians. So we've got the East Coast first. We all know how unfortunate that was. We had the Quakers as one settlement that wanted to be at peace with them. And then I forget when I studied it, something happened, and so they went to war. But it's interesting to learn how, like, the East Coast settled, displaced, and tribes. Some people blended in, and it was all really well established. By the time 100, 200 years later, we went out west, and then those tribes had to face the white invasion, so to speak. And that's not an anti-white claim. That's just how to quick way to disclaim it. There was a tribe. Was it the Delaware? I think the Delaware were like a wandering tribe, kind of like gypsies, who roamed because they were displaced back east, and they became a well-known tribe that traveled around and spread out west. So there was that era of Indian occupation of Indian lands, which was well established by the 1800s, early 1800s. And then there was the Mexico states up to Northern California, up to Colorado, Texas, I think into southern Utah, southern Nevada. I don't think it was all of Nevada. All of that was Spanish. And then up the coast, up to Monterey, California, and then the port. I don't know when Oregon at the Columbia River was really settled. I don't remember. But I think by the 1800s, they had ships going there pretty regularly. Like the beginning of the 1800s, if I remember right. So we got to recognize a lot of that area was already taken over. Oh, what was the question again? I think Indians would have died if government hadn't stepped in. It was all government. That's the thing. That's what I really wish people would realize. Because right now, they're trying to create more race wars, and they have. They've created a lot of division between races. And who's it against? You and me. Like, anybody that I meet that hates white people, they hate you and me. Or I don't know about you guys, but they hate people like me. Anybody that looks like I'm a conservative. And it's like, guys, we're not the enemy. It was the government. It was the government, and it was corporations. Like, they're in lots of areas, probably every area. Even after the Indians were moved onto reservations, people setting up stills and selling them liquor so that they could take advantage of them. And that was outlawed. That's one good thing that the government did, was they tried to outlaw the sale of liquor to Indians because it was too easy to take advantage of them. And but they didn't patrol it. The government did a crappy job at enforcing it. And so even here, right here in my area, there was a guy taking whiskey to all the Indians and then taking advantage of them. And sucks. The guy that wrote the book knew it, but because of our manly attitude about ratting people out, he didn't rat the guy out. So the guy just kept on going. Meanwhile, so we have an uncaring government that has some caring, some uncaring people working within it. And but then it was the masses that that paid the price. You know, the settlers, because they're told by their government, you can go settle in that land. That's yours. We'll give it to you. Well, that's the government doing it. And so I don't think that the people who went out looking for opportunity are to blame. I mean, you could say, well, if you guys had all stayed back east and realized that the government was stealing land, but we had thousands of years of this going on, of a nation conquering lands. And so I don't put the blame on the normal people, and I think that's what's wrong. I think we need to put the blame on the government. So would they have died? I think there could have been a lot less deaths had, again, communication. Like here, and I get it. I went to South Africa, and I look back now and realize a lot of ways that I didn't understand the culture there. It was really neat getting to go there and see a culture that had never been affected by the major things that we've gone through. You know, not Western civilization. The Dutch had gone through Western civilization that are down there, the Afrikaners, but not the Zulu. They didn't go through the women's liberation movement. They didn't go through postmodernism. They didn't go through modernism. You know, they're just a culture outside of that. So it's fascinating to see a culture that wasn't affected by that. So neat. But at the time, I didn't really understand. I tried to listen and understand, but you know, I'm a faulty human, and so a lot of ways that, you know, if I went back, I would have been more sensitive. I hate to use that word, but more understanding. So anyway, so yes, we could have had a whole lot less deaths if we would have been more understanding. Great example is right here in my home area. They called the Yakimas a nation, and they grabbed the chiefs, and Governor Stevens, big prick, was high on his ego, showed up, basically forced these chiefs to sign the agreement, and then went off and bragged about his accomplishment of, I just conquered another Indian nation, now on to the next one. Well, what he didn't bother to understand is that they don't have chiefs the way that we have chiefs. Like in our society, Western society, we have a leader who tells everybody what to do. From what I've learned, the more about the typically the chief system, it was more like elders, which this goes into what Christianity was supposed to be, or what it was originally. You don't have leaders in our sense that tell everybody what to do. You have elders, the people who have lived a life worthy of respect, and now they're old, and so you revere them and you give them a lot more honor than say the guys who struggled through life and didn't make great decisions, because you want to listen to the ones who've had a history and shown a life of good decision making and life of wisdom. And so and that's how they would come up with chiefs, essentially. I'm generalizing here. And then when they'd have their councils to make decisions as a tribe, it wasn't just the chiefs saying, okay, this is what we want everybody to do. They'd have a big gathering, and everybody, I don't know if everybody, but the prominent men all got their chance to talk. You know, the warriors, they all get to share their views if they had a view that they wanted to share. And then and you could even have a case where the chiefs say, the tribe's gonna do this, but then you get some holdouts of, no, we don't agree, we're gonna do this. And there wasn't, like, that's just how, it's very un-American, it's very un-Western civilization that that you can live together while having different views, essentially. And so like I say, like think of the military, that's the extreme. You don't even you don't do anything on your own, at least in boot camp. Especially when you're in battle, you follow orders or you get court-martialed, or whatever they call it when a soldier is. I know officers get court-martialed. I don't know if soldiers do. Just thrown in the prison for not doing as they're told. And so you take this culture of top-down structure and move it into the Indian world. So they gather chiefs thinking whatever the chiefs say goes. Well, it doesn't work that way. The chiefs needed a week or 2 weeks that they could all talk, discuss, and everybody share their views, and then decide, and then chiefs say, well, we believe that, or I believe we should wisely conclude with this. But that's not how they handled it here. And they forced them, they pressured them, and not even all the chiefs were even there. Some weren't. I think Kamiakin wasn't there, like one of the bigwigs, and that's why in 1855 Governor Stevens got to brag that he had conquered another Indian nation, but then within months the war broke out. 1855 to 1858 we had our war here, and it was because they felt like they had been steamrolled and taken advantage of. So had the governor understood that and came at it with, okay, communication issues, let's spend some time making sure they understand, and then let's genuinely take care of them, as promised. That's another huge issue, is the government promised. So anyway, to answer the question, we could have avoided a lot of loss of life that way. So some comments and questions here. Shoot, I dropped my lens. Fortunately, I didn't scratch. The War of Northern Invasion. Oh yeah, Dead Wolf Resistance says, now let's talk World War II history. Let's not talk about that here. I love war, talking about war. I hate war, but I love war strategy. But also getting into what caused wars is more of a new subject for me in the past few years. Yeah, I'm happy about the Indians getting to run casinos. I think it's absolutely insane that our government controls. Our government is so greedy, alcohol, gambling. They're for it, just as long as they're getting their cut. It's like our government is essentially the mafia. They took care of it. They got rid of the mafia not because they were doing things that they thought were bad. They did it because they need to get rid of the competition. And but anyway, it works in the tribe's favor. But even within the tribes, we don't hear a lot about it. But there's politic problems there between the tribal leaders and the people. Not all of them. I got to meet a guy who was on the, doggone it, words slipped my mind. The council. He was a neat guy. He was really cool. Nothing pretentious about him. Not like if you were to meet a city council person for Yakima, the city, they'd probably be all stuck up and arrogant. I met this guy. He was just super cool. He was funny. He was fun to joke around with. And then we went in. I got to enjoy a meal with them. And it was a special meal, so they did some ceremonial stuff. And it turns out he was one of the chiefs, one of the tribal members, and he ran it. They did a song that was a prayer. It was powerful. It was so cool. And then I got to eat some of the sacred foods, some huckleberries, camas root, salmon. It was so cool. I was so glad I got to be a part of that. It was neat to see. So anyway. So I'm happy for them having casinos. I don't think gambling is a great idea, but I think we are supposed to be free to do it. But since we can't, the natives get to, and that's cool. Growing up learning Native American and history books, I was one-sided, but moving to Oklahoma and really getting my hands on real Native American history blew my mind. Yeah, feel free to share some examples. Jennifer or Royce, whoever that was. And the Washington Redskins. Yeah, so offensive to be used as an example of something that's fierce and strong. So dumb. Like if a team named themselves the Richard Harlemans, I'd be like, oh, badass. Hey, somebody thinks I'm worthy of striking fear into their enemies' hearts. Not that that would happen, but the whole renaming things is so stupid. Offer a reservation for the homeless. Gosh, yeah. We're not going to solve all the world's problems on this episode. The homeless. Speaking of homeless, man, if you guys know James Bender, Waypoint Survival, that guy did an awesome series recently where he interviewed a real hobo, and then he did 2 episodes of question and answers where he got questions from his audience. And so cool to learn. Like the hobos, they're the guys who just enjoy traveling and enjoy the free lifestyle. Like a lot of homeless that we see, we're there because they're hardcore drug addicts and drunks, and but the hobos weren't. I mean, apparently some of them drank, but they weren't out, bumming money so they could get another drink, that kind of thing. The hobos, like according to this guy, he didn't drink a whole lot. He was just out there to enjoy life, and so he was a wandering worker. Hey, good morning, Blackjack Creek. Oh, what's that guy? Oh, yeah, good. Royce, you heard it too. Yeah, that series was great. I still have the second question and answer to listen to. So, yeah, won't get onto the homeless thing. Oh yeah, dang, I forgot. I was gonna try saddling up Namnumkin. I don't know where she went. She's probably back there somewhere. I was gonna try saddling her up and doing the live video with this tripod in hand. Maybe we'll try that next. But yesterday I got to ride her around on the property. She's still not happy about it, but she would go. Where, if you guys remember, any of you who do, last year I couldn't get her to move. I couldn't get her to budge whatsoever. Like, even with spurs on, she'd move like 1 step and then stop. And I didn't want to keep whacking her in the sides with my spurs. I mean, spurs are to make a horse move, but if it doesn't make them move. And so this year, I've been doing some practice video, learning how to shoot cinematically so that I can work on my film, or at least know what I'm talking about if I have somebody else film it. And that requires making her move, and she's been doing it. And so, having some success there. So that makes me happy. What sucks, I got to feed these horses. So that makes it difficult to go to the mountains. Even if I just take one of them, and I don't want to take all 3, then these horses have to be fed. So I might do an overnight trip one of these days. I'll just throw them like a full 2 bales of hay, of grass hay, so they don't overindulge. And then, I don't know, I might be able to get somebody to come by and feed them. But I might go out and do a video. I posted a new video for those who didn't see. Not a new video. I reposted an old video, because I think it was a pretty good video. It was the one where I forgot to change my clothes, so I was wearing a modern t-shirt, modern jeans. The rest of it, well, modern shoes. The rest of it was all my historical stuff. And anyway, I released it as a 2-part video, and it didn't get very many views. Like, I like my videos to at least get as many views as I got subscribers. But these only got,
I looked so I could quote it. 2,500 thereabouts on the first video, and then part 2 got 4,000 or 5,000, or maybe it was 4,500, somewhere around there. That one wasn't as bad, obviously, as the 2,500, but I thought they deserved more views. I thought they were pretty decent videos, and so I just reposted them this morning as one. I combined them and just made one video out of them. So, but hopefully I'll be able to get up soon. Bear season has started, so I might buy my bear hunting license. That way I could carry my rifle with me and maybe do some bear hunting. But I'd like to go up there with just Nam Num Kin. Oh, my dogs too. I'll probably have to just base camp and then take my horse out. All right. Hey, thanks, Dead Wolf Resistance. I think world-class excellence is an exaggeration because I'm learning about videography but I appreciate it. But hopefully I will be able to increase the quality of my videos. But I'm not that disappointed with them as I go back. I wouldn't make a short film that way. All right. Well, I'm gonna go feed Sam. And I need to start saddling her and working with her again. But the main thing is I got to get her in the trailer. I couldn't get her in the trailer. That's why I didn't take her the last times and just gave up on her. But I need to start working on that. All right, I got to go. I'm going to run out of battery. So thanks for joining me all. It's been a good morning. Have a great weekend. Remember, life's a lot more fun over on the wild side.